Now they're not going to give her the bucket. And she's frustrated by it.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Right now, I'm beyond frustrated. Honestly, I can't believe what I just watched. The Indiana Fever drop another disappointing game to the Atlanta Dream, and I'm left asking what exactly Stephanie White is doing on that sideline. Stephanie White, this simply isn't acceptable. The coaching decisions tonight were rough. The officiating was rough. The rotations were rough. Everything about this game had me shaking my head in disbelief. And let's be honest, Caitlin Clark deserved much better. She goes out there every night, absorbs contact, gets grabbed, bumped, and held, yet the whistle rarely seems to favor her. Meanwhile, the moment someone lightly touches another player, officials are ready to call a foul. How does that make any sense? Caitlin Clark ends up battling foul trouble because Stephanie White refuses to challenge obvious mistakes. That's what makes this even harder to watch. These calls are happening right in front of the bench. Everyone can see them. Stephanie White, what exactly are you watching? Use the challenge. Defend your star player. That's part of your responsibility. Instead, Caitlin picks up 5 fouls, spends critical fourth quarter minutes sitting on the bench, and the Indiana Fever offense completely collapses. And don't get me started on the post-game reactions. I'm seeing players smiling and laughing after a loss like this. Losing should sting. This team should be frustrated. Fans invest time, money, and energy into supporting this team, and what we're seeing simply isn't good enough. Amber Cox deserves criticism too. The roster construction doesn't make much sense. You had opportunities during free agency to strengthen this team, and this is the result. Monique Billings was supposed to be an important addition, yet she can't stay on the floor during key fourth quarter moments. If you're paying a player that type of money, they need to be available when games are decided. Instead, we're seeing Michaela Timpson logging major late-game minutes. Now, to be clear, I'm not blaming Michaela Timpson. She's a young player doing her best to contribute. Yes, mistakes happened, but she shouldn't be in that situation to begin with. That's on the coaching staff. That's on the front office. That's on Stephanie White and Amber Cox. Then you look at the draft decisions. Raven Johnson was selected 9th overall, yet she barely sees the floor. She played only limited minutes, and whenever opportunities arrived, she looked uncomfortable. How are players supposed to improve if they never receive consistent roles? Then there's Ty Harris. You know things aren't going well when Ty Harris is getting extended minutes, and the offense still looks completely stagnant. Nobody can hit shots. Nobody creates offense. Nobody appears to understand their role. Everything looks disconnected. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is carrying the entire team. She enters the fourth quarter with 26 points and 7 assists. 26 points and 7 assists. Yet somehow she finishes with those exact numbers because she barely touches the ball in the final period. How is that even possible? How does your best player not get a single shot attempt during the most important quarter of the game? That's coaching malpractice. If Caitlin Clark is on the floor, the offense should run through Caitlin Clark. It's that simple. Instead, Stephanie White waits until only 3 minutes remain before putting her back into the game after foul trouble. Then when Caitlin finally returns, she's standing around while everyone else handles the basketball. Why? What's the strategy? What's the actual plan? If you're not involving Caitlin Clark offensively, then why put her back into the game at all? None of it makes sense, and don't tell me the officials didn't affect this game. Several calls left fans completely confused. Even the announcers questioned some whistles. When commentators openly disagree with calls, you know there's a problem. Caitlin Clark gets hit, grabbed, and bumped throughout the night, and officials let it continue. Then they call questionable fouls that completely swing momentum. That's why fans are upset. That's why people are angry. Everyone just wants consistency. Call the game the same way for everybody. And Brienne January, if you're standing beside Stephanie White watching these calls happen in real time, somebody has to speak up. Somebody has to ask for a challenge. Somebody has to fight for Caitlin Clark because right now it doesn't feel like anyone is. The Indiana Fever have far too much talent to look this disorganized. Aaliyah Boston deserves better. Caitlin Clark deserves better. The fans deserve better. This isn't only about losing to the Atlanta Dream. It's about a pattern. Questionable rotations, poor late-game execution, missed challenge opportunities, lack of offensive adjustments, and a front office that needs to answer serious questions about roster construction. Amber Cox needs to explain these decisions. Stephanie White needs to explain these rotations because what we're watching right now simply isn't working. At some point, accountability matters. At some point, excuses run out. The Indiana Fever cannot keep wasting performances from Caitlin Clark. 26 points and 7 assists should put your team in position to win. Instead, we're discussing missed challenges, questionable officiating, confusing substitutions, and a complete lack of offensive identity in the fourth quarter. That's unacceptable. This team needs answers. This organization needs accountability because if things continue like this, fan frustration will only grow louder. And honestly, after watching this game, who could blame them? It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, for either of you guys tied it up at 95. There's about 3 minutes to go, and then they scored almost every trip down the stretch. Did you feel were the defensive failings in those final minutes?
I think it comes down to, obviously you want great teams to take tough shots. I think we kind of lapsed in that area. We got a little too many people involved on the roster. We think about some of their bench. We let them be active. I think we kind of shot us in the foot a little bit. It was always hard to catch up.
Yeah, for their view again. They scored 60 points in the paint. Just what was the breakdown close to the basketball?
Yeah, I mean, I think in transition they got easy ones, and then I think they, however many fast break points, 17. So that's, probably that right there contributed to it, and points off turnovers. I thought a lot of times that's probably on us guards getting into the ball a little bit better, so we don't have to rotate, but. I think we could have done a little bit better. We're gonna have to rotate at some point, and we kind of went back to our old ways where that second rotation we didn't get, and then they scored off the 90 cuts and the 45 cuts. So we got to do better in that area. And like Kelsey said, essentially everybody on their team shot over 50%. It's really hard to win a basketball game when that's the case.
Kelsey, what do you feel like you all can do to kind of make sure that your offensive runs translate into better energy on defense?
I think Coach hammered home a good point about making sure the defense is what you value first. You guys see us at our best, and I always say this, you guys see us at our best when we are defending. And I think that when we let people get too comfortable, you don't get your best offensive segments that you probably should.
All right. Thank you.